The fight against superstition is a long and challenging one. What can you say to village elders who believe that twins born are a curse to the entire village and that the parents must get rid of them? Thankfully, more than 50 children have been rescued from a tribal killing, sheltered, and cared for in South Omo Valley in Jinka, Ethiopia, at a local group home. Hi, I'm Paige, sharing incredible stories of nonprofits around the world and narratives of people having suffered it all and made it not for themselves, but for the larger good. Today, I have Tammy Darmel Moore, founder and president of Footprints in Africa. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Tammy is driven by her vision and compassion for humanity, and she's fueled by her love for the African continent. She decided to dedicate a large majority of her time and energy to nurturing and building the Footprints in Africa brand. With over 2 decades worth of community service experience, Tammy is no stranger to the different layers that come with creating, developing, and facilitating business needs. Although building a nonprofit organization from the ground up is a new adventure. Her influence in the business arena and community alike is evident with awards and recognitions like the 2018 National Women History Month Spotlight, Ava Smith and Associates, 2018 Black History Month Spotlight, Talk Greenville Magazine, 2017 Talk Greenville 25 Most Beautiful Women in the Upstate, TBC Women Fellowship Ministry 2017 National Women History Month Spotlight, and 2014, 2013, and 2012 Elite of Lexus Best in Class Employee Award and Recognition. Well, congratulations on all those awards, Tammy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, a lot of research goes into finding out about the organization and the person who's running it. And often I find that people who are the most decorated or the most awarded are the most humble of all. And they are the ones who start these nonprofits, and you are one of them.
Thank you.
So tell us, Tammy, how did this name, the Footprints in Africa, come about?
Yes. First, let me just say once again, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate the opportunity to speak on an organization that is near and dear to my heart. I traveled to Ethiopia in 2019, my very first time going to the motherland. Affectionately, we refer to Africa as the motherland. 2019, I was in the bush visiting with the local tribes there. And while visiting those local tribal people, I saw more footprints than I saw shoe prints while I was in the bush. And hence, when I came back to the States, I knew that I wanted to do something to make a change, do my part. Because, of course, I can't do it all. The need is so great in all of the
Yeah.
54 African countries. But while in Ethiopia in 2019, a young lady, a teenager, asked me for the shoes that I had on my feet. And I looked down at her feet, and she did have on shoes, but they were real worn. Actually, one foot was protruding out of her shoe. And I felt so bad because I wasn't in a position to give this child my shoes. Although I know I have plenty, back home in the States. I'm thinking, I could give her these shoes. It wouldn't be any problem if I was at home. But here I am in rough terrain, rural area, dirt, rocks, hardly any grass, basically weeds. If I give her my shoes, I have almost 5 miles to walk back to the van that I'm riding on. My feet would be blistered and bleeding in the whole nine. I'm not accustomed to walking on such terrain.
Absolutely, yes.
And so I felt bad about it. And so I'd already made up my mind. Once I get back to the States, I'm going to come back to Ethiopia. I'm going to give that little girl these particular shoes that I have on. At the time, I had on some Blackie Nike Air Max. I said, I'm going to make sure she gets these shoes. And so, to answer your question, when I got back to the States, the plan was to go back to Ethiopia that following year in the spring, February to be exact, my birthday month. And then in March, the pandemic hit. And so I wasn't able
Um,
to, we knew something was going on, but we didn't know what it was at that time. And so March the 18th, to be exact, the state of South Carolina, which is where I reside, was declared, in the midst of a pandemic and the state was shut down. And so I
right.
wasn't able to travel back. And so what I did, like most Americans, we We're cleaning out closets, cleaning out our garages, doing all those projects that we were not able to do prior to the pandemic because we were so busy doing life. And so
Yeah.
I was waiting. I said, I'm going to ask my family members, my friends, to also gather the shoes they don't want, and so I can take them back when I head back to Ethiopia when this pandemic, this COVID ends, which will probably be a week, maybe 2 weeks. I was thinking, didn't know.
Yeah.
So the more time went on and we saw that this pandemic, COVID, was going to be here for a while, I decided to form the nonprofit. Instead of sitting at home hitting my thumbs together, I was already gathering shoes. Within 2 weeks, I had over 100 pairs of shoes from my family members and my friends. I didn't use social media.
Amazing.
Yes. And so I said, I got to put a name to this. And so right away, I knew what I was going to name it, Footprints in Africa, because I saw more footprints than I saw shoe prints while in the bush.
Wow. That is a story, isn't it? And one thing led to another, and now you're not only doing shoes, but you're also doing many other things for Ethiopia.
Yes. Um, we've been in existence since June 2nd, 2020, to be exact. Although my trip was in 2019, we were actually formulated
Hmm.
legally by the state 2020. Next month, June 2nd, will be 3 years old. Um, Within that short period of time during the pandemic, because we worked during the pandemic, I have to emphasize that because people thought I was crazy. How in the world are you starting a nonprofit? You're stateside to help those in Africa. How in the world are you going to do that? And you're doing this in the midst of a pandemic when people here in the States need so much. And so my answer to that is yes, you're right. People in the
Yeah.
States do need at this point in time, but there's organizations to help those here in the States. You have United Ministries, you have Salvation Army, you have Meals on Wheels. I mean, I could go on and on and on about the government programs and
Mm-hmm.
organizations that help those here in the States. That's not the case in Africa. And so within those 2.5 years, almost 3 years, we are currently feeding more than 5,000 children in Kenya. We adopted 12 schools. We call that project Life Gardens. So those children get several meals a day via our Life Garden projects, all 12 schools. Each of the students have also earned a bioagricultural certification. We've taught the kids how to implement entrepreneurship with their skill sets. So, we're big on impact and sustainability. It's one thing to make an impact, it's another thing to make it where
Absolutely,
people want to
yes.
go and keep doing long after we're gone. And so it's very important that we don't just roll out programs and projects that put a band aid on issues. It has to be long term, it has to be where they can continue to thrive after we're gone. And so we're very proud of the projects that we do in Africa, one being our Life Garden project in Kenya. Another one is our Legacy Scholarship. We're paying for a young man's education in the Gambia. And so, of course, that's one person. But when you educate one person, you educate a family, you educate a village.
Absolutely.
It's this domino effect. And if you know anything about Africa at all, the males in the family are responsible for not only taking care of their wife and children, but also their parents. And so we were strategic about who we gave this legacy scholarship to. Met this young man while we were in the Gambia. We were also in Senegal, which is right across the border. And it was a no brainer, truly a no brainer. He was already in school. He was at risk of being kicked out because the pandemic had just hit. We couldn't afford to stay in
Mm.
school. So we came in, we took care of his outstanding balance, and we continued to pay for his education. He is now going into his third year. Mind you, we'll be 3 years old June 2nd. He is also going into his third year. Just amazing the work we've done thus far. In addition to that, we partnered with Lale Labuko with Omocha Home Village in Ethiopia. This young man, all kind of awards and accolades for the work that he's doing in Ethiopia. We found it easier to partner with those that are currently doing the work as opposed to us going in and recreating the wheel. It just makes sense to get with those that know the need. And so we got with Lale Labuko, the founder of Omocha Home Village. He has currently rescued, at the time, it wasn't 50 children, it's currently 50 children, from this systemic mindset that if children have certain type of attachments to them, whether they're born a twin, whether they have teeth that come in, at the top first rather than the bottom, um, if they fall and chip a tooth, if they're born out of wedlock. Then the list goes on and on and on. There are certain guidelines that if a child falls within that criteria, they're considered a mingi child, which means they are considered bad
A
luck.
curse.
Yes, exactly. And that they would bring a drought to the area, drought to the tribe. So it's best to get rid of that one bad seed, for lack of better words, as opposed to having them risk the entire tribal family. So it's a mindset that's been passed down for countless generations. Although I don't agree with it, I know they were raised that way. Like I have certain traditions and values that I've been raised with. They were raised that way. It was instilled in them from children. So in their minds, they're doing what's best for their families to get rid of the bad seed, and that way the entire village can continue to thrive. But this young man, Lale
Mm.
Labuko, who I'm just honored to be a part of what he's doing here at Footprints in Africa. And so when we met with him, he was in need of someone helping feed these children, helping clothe these children, helping educate these kids. Everything you and I would do as a mother to take care of our children, he's doing it for a greater number of individuals. So he goes in at birth, he negotiates with the king, or as they would say, the elder, the tribal elder,
Mm. Mm.
and to
Mm.
take those children. Um, he's been at risk of losing his life several times. So in my
I'm
mind,
sure.
if he can go in, negotiate with the tribal people, negotiate with the elders, leave with that newborn, and then get that newborn back to safety, the least we can do is help him feed those children,
Feed.
help him
Yeah.
clothe those children. He's done the hard part. And so we have all those children, the 50 children, plus his two that he and his wife birthed. So 52 children on our website. We're asking that the community join forces with us, adopt one of those children. Let me change that word. They don't like the term adopt. I learned that early on. Sponsor a kid.
Okay.
$50 a month. And I'll tell you a funny story. I used that term adopt when Lale and I first moved, and he was adamant. We don't give our babies away. We don't give our children away. We do our best and raise them as best we can. We don't give them away. And so I had to explain to him, I didn't use the best word. I don't want to take the children from you. We simply want to help. So I stand corrected. Not adopt, but sponsor. So for all of you
Sponsor.
out there that is watching this segment here, join forces with us. Sponsor a Mingy child for $37 a month. Those $37 go so far. It feeds a child. It provides education, clothing, a warm place to lay their head. And then there are mothers that come in and actually help. So those children have several mothers on that campus that give them the love and nurturing they need.
What a noble thing you are doing. Just amazing. I, the fact that you have started from a simple trip to Ethiopia and then decided to take this as a life mission speaks volumes. Let's take a break to understand what Chezuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state of the art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chezuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chezuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chezuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chezuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest. Now, tell me, Tammy, when you are working from the United States, you gather funds from the United States, and then how do you, of course, you have Lali, who is there to collaborate and help you out with, but otherwise, also, do you have to make trips occasionally to Ethiopia and make sure that things are working the way that you want, that you foresaw them?
Yes, great question. I'm very strategic. I'm very hands on with everything. This is my baby. This is my life mission. This is my purpose. So I can't leave it at will. I can't just hand it over to others to do the work. Do I need help? Of course I do. It takes a village. It truly takes a village to do this type of work, especially since I'm stateside. So when I travel, I meet individuals. I'm strategic about seeing the heart of people, mixing and mingling with the locals, getting to know folks on another level, and that way I can put people in place throughout the areas as we travel. Because kindred spirits know kindred spirits. You know when someone has the heart to do, to do the work, that has the heart for mankind,
Mm,
that has the
mm,
heart of
mm.
giving back. And so it's no awards or accolades or anything like that. It's strictly about the betterment of the people of Africa. And so everything we do goes back to, is it helping the people of Africa? Is it just not only impactful, but is it sustainable? Are we truly making a difference in the lives of others? And so, yes, we do have boots on the ground, and we actually, solicit those individuals as we meet them. It's not like an interview. It's not like, hey, we're looking for help. Are you interested in
Mm,
helping? It's
mm,
casual.
mm.
It's mixing with the mingles, it's talking with individuals, seeing what they're doing already on a day-to-day basis. And you see the light. You see those individuals that you need to join forces with. Again, it's kindred spirits, so you attract one another. And so we do have a young man that we've brought on in Ethiopia. He's our boots on the ground. We actually hired him for a stint to do some work with our online blog. He's already a publisher. He's written several books. And so when the pandemic hit, he lost work. There was no work. So it's just a perfect fit.
Mm,
He's a
mm,
writer
mm.
already, born and raised in Ethiopia. He knows the area. He knows the concerns. He knows the areas of opportunity. And so to have him write for us was a no-brainer. And we're planning a trip with him here, coming up here shortly. He's going to be doing the tour for us, which is how I met him. He was my tour guide. And so we've since hired
Mhm.
him, like I said, to be boots on the ground. And then he'll be doing our trips as we go to Ethiopia. The plan is to do an annual trip and take those here, that want to travel and see Africa, with us, with a viable source, someone that's born and raised in Ethiopia. And then he works for the
Mm.
government as an advocate, a tourist. And so it's just a perfect fit. And then, in addition to him, of course, we have Lale Labuko, the owner of Omo Child Village. He's in Ethiopia as well. Um, we also have our lifeguard project. We have a trainer on the ground. We pay for their housing, their food, their clothing to actually stay there to make sure those 12 schools and those gardens are like they're supposed to be. And so, although those gardens are
Mm.
sustainable and the children and the school administration know what to do at this point, because the gardens they reap several harvests at this point. So they know what's going on. But we have someone on the ground that can physically go and make sure things are running smoothly. And then I talk with the school administration on a regular basis as well. So I keep my hands on the pulse, although I'm not physically there. And then I do visits. I do visits, yeah. Oh,
That
in
is
addition
great.
to that, we hired a young lady from Nigeria. She's here in the States. She goes to NYU. She's majoring in journalism. She reached out to me on official Black Wall Street for a job, and at the time we were not in a position to hire anybody. And then when she talked about school being shut down because of the pandemic, she wasn't able to work, and then she wasn't in school. They were going to send her back to her country. And so I made an executive decision to bring her on, pay her out of my pocket because we were fairly new then. And we brought her on for 3 months, for a semester basically, while school was shut down. And then school went virtual. So she was able to go back to school, get her funding from the government. And so we were able to help a young lady from Africa stay in school here in the States by simply bringing her on to do something that she's in school for, journalism, to write for us. And so it was a perfect fit,
Mm.
perfect fit. Any and
Yeah.
everything that we do
So
lends a nod to our mission and vision.
perfect. The universe conspires, you know, you attract the right people. That is wonderful. Tammy, thank you so much for sharing your story. You are doing amazing work, and I wish you success and lots of support from the universe.
Bless you.
Thank you
I
for being on
appreciate
our
that.
podcast.
Thank you.